Welcome everybody back to another Hit in the Turnbuckle podcast, and this is a busy week for the team here at HTTB. Today's podcast is all about the Smackdown review show from the Smackdown that aired last Friday. A couple of notes before, Triple H wasn't present at Smackdown last week. An internal issue or an internal meeting or some kind of thing was happening. So he was not present for SmackDown. We believe that Bruce Pritchard and the producers run it. So all being well, there was still no Vince McMahon there in person. He may have been via satellite or whatever they want to do, but he wasn't there, nor was Triple H. SmackDown started hot. It was a triple threat match between AJ Styles, Edge, and Rey Mysterio. The winner would advance to the semi-finals of the Raw Heavyweight Championship tournament. We know we've covered this off already. Bit of a weird one that the SmackDown guys get an opportunity. Nevertheless, it was happening. And the interesting part of this match, before it even started, was AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio were already in the ring as SmackDown begun. And Edge come out, obviously, to his for a thunderous pop and his wonderful music. Apparently, that's something that WWE were trialing, a new presentation. Don't know if it's going to continue or not. But there you go. The match itself, it was fantastic. What a way to start SmackDown with this match. There were some tremendous moves in this. They each utilized sort of their moves in a way to affect both participants in the match. You had Rey Mysterio doing this drop kick thing where Edge hit the wrong rope, come back, hit the middle with AJ, setting up a double 619. It literally had everything. Edge had done a video prior to SmackDown to really say how important this was to him or for him because he hasn't got long left in the tank and he needs this victory. And as the match progressed, there was loads of near falls. Again, utilizing both competitors. There was like a Tower of Doom segment off the top rope. The finish was a slight miscommunication. Ray was at the top. I think he was going to do a seated senton on Edge, and I think Edge was meant to spear him in midair, but Edge was kind of hunched down, so it was a kind of a messed up ending to it. And that followed up then with a phenomenal forearm by AJ Styles, and AJ Styles then goes on to face the winner of the next match on SmackDown, which was a triple threat between Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, and Sheamus. As I said, the match itself was fantastic. I really liked this match. I followed all three of these careers in wrestling for some time. So for me, this was a dream match. The only thing I would say was I really wish I could have seen this match 10, 15 years ago when they were probably in their prime and less banged up and injured, because it would have been fantastic. But the match itself, what a fantastic way to start SmackDown. A tremendous match for me. Loved it. And as I say, AJ progresses and goes to the next stage or the semi-finals of the tournament, which will be the main event of SmackDown later on that day. They hyped up that Roman Reigns would be coming to SmackDown for the first time since WrestleMania, since his victory Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Obviously, he was on Raw the night after WrestleMania, but didn't show up on SmackDown. So it would mark his first appearance since WrestleMania and ultimately to iron out some issues with the bloodline. The next match was the triple threat match between Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, and Sheamus. And again, this match was another really good match between contrasting styles to a degree. I mean, they're all pretty, in terms of their sort of height and weight, they're all pretty similar. Sheamus is a brawler, Lashley's a powerhouse, and Austin Theory kind of has a little bit of everything. This match again, lots of near falls, lots of, combinations. Lashley gets thrown into the steel steps and cuts his head. As SmackDown went to a break, when he comes back, he is literally a crimson mass of blood. Which, similar to Brock Lesnar at Backlash, they didn't take it away. They didn't take the picture away. They didn't blank the picture. The ref didn't try and, cover Lashley up or try and get some of the blood away. They let the match continue, which was good. The finish of the match was Fury was stuck in a hurt lock. Sheamus broke up with a broad kick. Lashley grabbed Sheamus, throws him to the floor, and then covers Austin Theory to win the match. This match kind of was how Austin Theory has been winning the triple threat matches recently, where the guys hit their finisher, he's thrown them out the ring and then covered it. So he kind of got a bit of his own medicine there. I don't think that hurts Austin Theory's momentum. I think he's still got a lot to offer the SmackDown brand, especially as United States Championship. I think now's the time to position somebody, maybe that will be Sheamus, to go against him and to start a feud. I don't really want to see Austin Theory and Lashley again. I think we've seen that now. They've had a lot of matches on Raw, so I think it's time to have a fresh opponent for Austin Theory as we move into Night of Champions and on to Money in the Bank. So Lashley got through. So Lashley and AJ Styles will be contesting the main event later on. To winner will go on against Seth Rollins for the Raw title at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Adam Pearce is, after come back from the break, Adam Pearce is on the phone talking about how wonderful tonight's main event will be. And walks making his SmackDown debut, Grayson Waller. I really rate Grayson Waller. I think he's a tremendous talent. He's got great mic skills. He's really good in the ring. And he basically come out and said, hey, look, I'm glad to be here, but I was drafted a bit late. But what he wants to do next week on SmackDown is interview the winner of the main event between AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley on the Grayson Waller effect, which Adam Pearce agreed to. Interesting to see where that will go in the future, because obviously the winner of that match will head off to Seth Rollins, as I've already mentioned, to go Night of Champions. So, bit intrigued as to why Grayson Waller is getting involved here. Now, he has history with AJ Styles. AJ Styles did take him on in NXT, I think last year or the year before. So if AJ was to win the tournament or AJ was to win the match against Lashley, he goes on to the Grayson Waller effect. Are they going to rekindle that little feud that they had, which is a really good feud actually on NXT? I'd go watch it if you don't think. If you want to have a look, but I think it was a great feud, and maybe they'll rekindle that. Or if Lashley's at a new feud for Grayson Waller against Lashley, I'll be honest, I think it might be a little bit too big of a step. I'm not saying AJ Styles is low, but he's just come back from injury. Lashley's been heavily involved in the title scene for over a year, or one of the title scenes, whether that be in a Continental or World Championship, for well over a year now. So I think perhaps if AJ was to win it, it'd be better than Bobby Lashley's for feud of Grayson. Anyway, we move on. The next match is, Baron Corbin is already in the ring. Now, don't forget, Baron Corbin is a free agent and can appear anywhere he wants. And he chose SmackDown. And basically, he introduces, Cameron Grimes comes out. Corbin introduced himself. He's surprised he showed up, and that takes guts. And he basically says that Cameron Grimes won't be making a name off Corbin tonight. And as soon as the bell rings, bang, Cameron Grimes hits the cave-in for a win in about 5 seconds. That match is as simple as that. It was over before it began. What are they doing with Baron Corbin? It's an interesting question, because Baron Corbin does have something about him. I don't know what exactly. He has something. He's got some. What I would say is he does have a really good move set, and some of his moves when they get hit, they look really, really good. And don't forget, he's one of the only guys to have cleanly pinned Roman Reigns over the last few years. And now he's jobbing to Cameron Grimes in 5 seconds. Obviously, a strong start for Cameron Grimes, which is good. I like these new ones getting wins when they come up straight away. Would have liked the match to have been a bit more competitive, but I'm thinking the first 2 matches went long and the main event may go long. So, we'll have to see. Cameron Grimes, what does he do next? Is this going to continue into next week? I don't know. I don't even know if I want to see this feud, to be quite honest with you. But for what it was, it made Cameron Grimes look strong. It jobbed Corbin out again. and then we move on to the next portion of SmackDown. The bloodline come out. Here we go. This is the bit that myself have been looking forward to. What was going to happen when Roman Reigns returned to SmackDown in Knoxville? The usual stuff happened. Gets in there, does the entrance, the pyro. He asked the crowd to acknowledge him. And he basically says that there's a lot of talk about royal families and the importance of the families in the business, but there is only one family, which is the bloodline. Reigns then went on to say that every man in this ring, main event in WrestleMania both nights. The only concern was he was the only one that won it, and that won the main event, and that the momentum carried on to Backlash, even when he wasn't there. Who stepped up? Solo stepped up. He said he had some concerns at first about bringing Solo up because of experience, but when it comes to sinking or swimming, Solo swims like a shark and handles his problems. Solo then, I think, mouths to Roman about Kevin and Sammy, and he says, "Don't worry, they're not a problem, or they're not the problem." He says the actual problem is your brothers. And then Roman brings up the fact that they lost at WrestleMania. Respect the fact that Roman was wondering why they were dedicating the title victory to him on SmackDown when Roman dedicates it to the family. Roman asked for an apology from the Usos, who were looking at each other. Jimmy starts to laugh a little bit. Reigns, basically, the fans were going, no, no, no. Reigns said, don't listen to these idiots. Jimmy's still laughing at this point, and Reigns pushes him in the face and says to him, well, what are you going to do about it? And it's kind of quite funny, because if you see what behind, when he's pushed Jimmy, and Jimmy's now starting to look more serious, you just see behind Roman, you see Paul Heyman just slightly exiting the ring. It's quite a funny little bit at the back, but I thought it was funny. And Jimmy then goes for Roman, and he holds him back and says he apologizes. And if Reigns would let them have one more shot at the tag team titles, they will bring them back for the bloodline. And Reigns thinks about it, and he smiles, and he says, you're right. The titles will come back to the bloodline. And then he says to Paul Heyman, or the wise man, to announce what they're going to do. And Paul Heyman said that he was advised to pull the board of directors' strings to flex their bloodline muscles. And Heyman announces the Night of Champions. It will be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the bloodline. But it's Reigns and Sikoa. And the Usos, well, they're very shocked. They don't know really what to do at this point. And Roman Reigns then says he dedicates the win to the greatest tag team of all time, the Wild Samoans, Afa and Sika. Really good segment, starting to build it again, like the whole the split that we think is going to happen, but hasn't happened, that should happen, that will happen at some point, probably as we go into SummerSlam. The interesting point about that was we knew, and we said this on the podcast, that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens don't normally travel to Saudi Arabia, and this was due to, I think, Sami's heritage. From what we understand and from what's kind of been announced, it's okay now, it's sorted, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens will indeed be defending those titles at Night of Champions against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Very interesting to see how that pans out. Does Roman and Solo win the titles? Do the Usos cost them the titles? We'll have to wait and see in 2 weeks' time what happens. It'll be an interesting match that I'm looking forward to. Kayla Braxton's backstage. Bayley talks about how she and Roman Reigns are alike as leaders. She takes the blame on herself that Io Sky lost the match against Bianca. Maybe Io wasn't ready. Io's face at this point is kind of rolling her eyes up, and it's again teasing a split within Damage Control. She said, Bayley then goes on to say that leaders take control themselves. which she will do tonight when she and Dakota Kai bring the gold back to Damage Control. And that brings us nicely to the Women's World Tag Team Champions. Now, then they basically, as the Women's Tag Team Champions come out, it goes to commercial. Back from the commercial, before the match starts, the Usos and the LWO have a little bit of a to-do backstage. So basically, they were making some jokes on the Usos, and the Usos storm off, who basically storm off and keep things calm, so to speak. The women's tag team match then eventually gets underway. It was what it was, I think, in this one. It was okay. There was some decent action in it. Wasn't fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but it was okay. There was a little bit where Bailey distracts Sky on the apron, and that backfires. So basically, Io Sky was meant to distract the tag champions on the ring apron, and it backfired. And basically, in that chaos, Liv Morgan pins Bailey to win and retain the titles. Yeah, it really was what it was. It didn't really do anything apart from continue to tease the split between Damage Control, as Bailey says. So again, that will probably go into next week, and I think eventually, probably by Night of Champions, maybe just after, Damage Control will split up, and they will go their separate ways. Who will be the face and who will be the heel? Who knows? I think Bailey has been a heel for a while now. I just don't see Bailey returning to the hugger gimmick. I think the gimmick that she's got at the moment is great. But if she's a face, I don't know how it's going to work. So we'll wait and see what happens. Stage, the Brawling Brutes are talking, and all of a sudden, yes, boys! Pretty Deadly make their debuts on SmackDown and introduce themselves to the Brawling Brutes, and basically insult them. And it looks like they're going to set up a match for next week, and the Brutes go off and get some beers, which is great. I enjoy the fact they're getting some beers. They could have given me one, but never mind. Next part of SmackDown is then the Bianca Belair Championship celebration. Sure, every time they go to Knoxville, they have a celebration for Bianca Belair. I'm sure they did last time when Kane presented her with the belt or something along those lines. Anyway, Bianca comes out, the family's all here. Bianca goes to the corner, the pose does her pose, pyros explode. And all of a sudden, the music hits, and it's Asuka returns. Again, since her first return since losing to Bianca at WrestleMania. The EST chants up. Asuka goes to congratulate her and shake her hand, and she spits the mist in Bianca's eyes. And then Asuka just bounces around like she normally does and exits the ring and looks back with a smile, whilst officials attend to Bianca, who is at this point screaming in pain. So it looks like we're going to see Bianca and Asuka again. I, for one, don't mind that. I enjoyed their first match. I thought their first match was great. So it looks like we're probably going towards Night of Champions for a rematch, which is fine by me. Asuka's now going to be a full-fledged heel, so it makes it interesting. Does she beat Bianca for the title? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they may save that for another show, albeit they have just turned up to heel. So, or does this start a program between these two, where maybe Asuka does eventually win the title? It's just one of these ones at the moment, a bit like Roman Reigns, where Bianca has been on top for so long. You can't really see Asuka beating her because Asuka's already lost to her. Maybe Bianca wins by DQ at Night of Champions. Who knows? But what I like about the reign of Bianca, although I think she should have been the one that turned heel, not Asuka, just because she's been face for so long, and I think she'll make a really good heel. And I think she was heel for some time in NXT. But I would have preferred her to have gone through a character change a little bit, because I think she's still getting the reactions, and she still gets great reactions, and they get behind her. I just think she's gone a bit stale in the character now, and it's time for a change for Bianca. Not happening on this occasion. Will they wait for Charlotte Flair to return for a couple of weeks before she has another holiday? Who knows? Basically, they go backstage. AJ's warming up for his match. They hit the commercial, back from the commercial, and Bianca Belair's basically in the training room screaming for help. And then it's time for the main event between Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. Bobby Lashley, I don't think, has stopped bleeding since his first match. He ends up bleeding again in this match from the head. Pretty sure he didn't get any work done before he come back out. Again, a really good encounter between these two. Slightly short, in my opinion, but I think, again, the matches were going on too long at the start, so they might have had a few time constraints in there. Part of it, they go into the outside of the ring, and AJ sort of slides off of Lashley's shoulders. Lashley goes face first into the ring post. AJ hits an enziguri. They bring it back in. He goes for the phenomenal forearm. Lashley blocks it. AJ then slides out of a move and tries the calf crusher. Blocks a suplex to Lashley. He eventually covers him. He eventually gets the power slam on AJ in the middle of the ring. There's a long 2 count on that. And eventually, Lashley goes to hit the spear. AJ jumps over him. AJ then knees Lashley, send him face first into the post, and he follows that with a phenomenal forearm and wins. Now, that sets up AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins at Night of Champions for the Raw Heavyweight Championship. That's going to be a fantastic match. I'm really looking forward to that. You know, looking at this in a way, I think Seth Rollins deserves it. Obviously, AJ's been out, not his fault, but he was out injured, and he's only just come back in. So I'm not really certain that it's AJ's time. I would like Seth Rollins to win a title. I think that he's carried Raw in a lot of ways since he's been on there. He's had the feud with Logan Paul. He made Logan Paul even bigger star than what he was, even though Seth got the deserved win. I just think it's Seth Rollins' time to win the heavyweight championship. He hasn't had it for some time now. I think it's his time to win it, and I hope that they put the title on him. If AJ wins it, it will be fine. It just means he will go to Raw. What would that do to the OC? Will they get taken over to Raw and leave SmackDown already? I don't know. And again, the OC without AJ just isn't right. They didn't really use the OC after AJ got injured. So I think they need to keep together. I think it's Seth's time. Give him a run with it, and let's see what happens. SmackDown in all was a great show. I thought they gave the matches the right time. They could have maybe given the main event a bit longer, in my opinion, just because of the importance of it. But nevertheless, solid SmackDown. Looking forward to see how it pans out next week. We know AJ Styles is going on the Grayson Waller effect. So that's going to be an interesting one. How will AJ react to Grayson Waller? They've had their feud in the past. So it's going to be an interesting segment for sure. Before we wrap up today, need to talk about some of the guests that we've got on this week. Starting tomorrow, we have Ignite Wrestling Pros star coming on the show. Taylor James, apologies. I think my screen froze there. Taylor James coming on the show tomorrow to discuss all things Ignite Wrestling. Straight after that, we go into another podcast with the wonderful SoCal Val. Really looking forward to hearing from Val. She lives in England, so it's not going to be a big time difference thing like it normally is. Thursday, myself and the Dynamite Man Dave, DMD, will review all things AEW Dynamite. It looks another loaded show. We follow that with an ECW special with Just Incredible to talk about ECW when it was ECW, not the WWE's version of ECW. Obviously, we've got the reviews. Raw and SmackDown reviews will happen. And also on Sunday, myself and the lovely Fiona Loughran with a new hairdo. You need to check the new hairdo out. I'll get her to show her she can show the do on the show. We celebrate NWA star AJ Kazana's birthday. And he's promised us that he's going to be by the pool for this podcast. So that'll be an interesting one. Also, announced today, if you haven't already seen it, Beers and Beatdowns have got the concept design all ready to go for the Hitting the Turnbuckle Beers and Beatdowns partnership shirt. It looks fantastic. I've shared it on socials. Please go and have a look. Please get that shirt as well. Also, I cannot end the show without talking about Buckle Up with Ignite Wrestling Pro, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. The Buckle Up show is going to be huge. We have announced some amazing wrestlers on the show. The latest one was someone who fought Chris Jericho in a six-man tag, Michael Aku, one of the hottest properties in British wrestling today. Get your tickets. Go to Ignite Wrestling Pro. The link is there. I'll put out the link later on as well so you can get your tickets. Believe me when I tell you, it is an event that you do not want to miss. To get your tickets before they sell out, they are going like hot cakes. The other side to that is if you pick up the Inside the Ropes magazine next month, for all you Inside the Ropes subscribers, you will see another pullout of Buckle Up in that magazine. So please take a look out. Get your tickets for that. Also, our other partners at Jurassic Pro Wrestling are putting on a show on the 4th of June, Primal Instincts. Some great matches have been announced for that. I will be in attendance for that myself. I'm looking forward to it. Going to catch up with some of the boys prior to the show going live. And they've put on a great show. They're going to have a fatal clawaway main event for the Ignite Wrestling for the Jurassic Lost World Championship. I'm getting confused with all these sponsors. Corey McRae has got a huge match in a couple of weeks' time. I think the day before with a Japanese wrestling superstar. Corey, go kill it. I know that you will. Big shout out to Zach Beavis as well, Soraya's brother from AEW. He went out to Switzerland for the first time this weekend. He had a very, very good match. He will be in Billericay, Essex, Friday, June 2nd. Go and get your tickets for that. Again, I'm scheduled to be there. Fingers crossed I will be there to watch him. Really looking forward to that. Again, hopefully I can bump into Zach and we can have a proper catch up in face-to-face. But guys, listen, this is the first one of a lot of podcasts this week. This is the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I have been your host, Adam Cousins, and we will be back tomorrow with 2 more podcasts for you guys. So stay safe. Hit that subscribe button. Oh, follow us on Twitter at HTTBuckle. Go on to YouTube at the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Smash that subscribe button, and you will be first to see the videos of these interviews when they go up. Please do that, guys. Anywhere you can get a podcast, Apple, Spotify, you'll see us. Have a listen. Unless you want to see our beautiful faces, then watch it on YouTube. Guys, we will be back tomorrow. Good night from me.